Hi, hello, I'm Marina, that one girl that likes to talk a lot about houseplants, and welcome to Millennium Planter. Today, I am finally doing my 6-month update of growing my plants on moss poles and wooden planks. As you can see, I already have some of them right behind me. So 6 months ago in June, I posted a video sharing the pros and cons of moss poles versus planks, but I really wanted to kind of experiment for myself. And so I've gone on this year-long experiment, and I wanted to just see how my plants do, which ones they like more, which ones are just easier to handle. And I have learned a lot, and I have grown my plants so much. I was actually watching the first video that I posted, and I was shocked at how little a lot of these plants were. So I'm so excited to share these updates with you. Since then, a lot has kind of changed. Well, not too much, but some stuff has changed. Like, I started integrating soil poles into my journey. So just basically a clear moss pole support thing, and I fill it up with soil, more sphagnum moss in soil. So that's been really cool. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I've also had to change the growing medium on some of them. So some of them were on planks at one point, and I changed them to either soil poles or vice versa. So yeah, let's get into it. If you want to follow me along on this journey for the next year or so, I mean, technically I said a year, but at this point I really think I'm going to do this for, I don't know, maybe like 2 years to really just give my plants a chance to establish themselves. But if you want to follow along on this journey, definitely go ahead, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, I would absolutely love to have you and, you know, just help propagate this community with me. So now let's get on into the updates. So I'm going to do this kind of like half show and tell style, where I'm like bringing the plants and then half like actually showing you the plants, because some of them are just kind of like difficult to move around, and some of them are like as big as me at this point, so it's just easier to like bring the camera and show you. But the first plant I have, and I think this is the first plant I talked about on my video, I actually have it right here off the screen, is my Philodendron Splendid. It has my Philodendron Splendid. You can already see how much these leaves has sized up since they started to grow. And this is the latest leaf it put out, so it's been really exciting. And I've probably talked y'all's ears off with this plant because it is just so amazing, but it's even more amazing because I didn't realize how small it was. I mean, that's kind of the beauty in having social media or just documenting your plants in general, because you really don't realize how much your plants have grown. And I knew that this Splendid had grown a lot, but I didn't know how much it grew. So, the zip ties just poked me in the face. Love that for me. So in the video, actually, it was right here. It had one more lower leaf, but these two are still the original leaves that were in that first video. And wow, look at that. We got this and this and these beautiful ones. So she's grown a lot. And then this newest leaf right here is just absolutely beautiful. It's still soft, it's still hardening off, it's getting ginormous. And then it also has, we're a bit off frame here, but it also has a new leaf that is already about to come out, which is just insane. I talk so much about this plant because it is just such an easy philodendron, such an easy hybrid, and I have thoroughly enjoyed growing this plant. And if you can see, she's about to reach the top of this moss pole. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up chopping her and then seeing where the roots are. If the roots are kind of established, I'm just going to go ahead and plant her right at the bottom. I actually just did that with my Melanoprisome. But if the roots aren't too established, then I'm just going to have to reroot it. But I do want to get this whole thing filled with Splendid and kind of make a Philodendron Splendid tree. I actually did that with my Varicosum, which I'll show in a little bit. And as we can see, she is on a moss pool. Somehow, over the past couple months, I've actually been really good at keeping my moss pools moist. Every night, actually, when I tuck my girls into bed, I come into the plant room because it's like right next to each other, and I go and I soak my moss poles. I also feel like it just helps with the humidity around this area, just moistening all the moss poles throughout the night, or it helps with the humidity throughout the night. So that's kind of like a new little routine I've gotten myself into, and it has worked because the roots have started attaching to a few of my moss poles now. This is the first time I've ever had that happen, which is kind of crazy because in my first video I mentioned that's just a really big con of moss poles, is that you have to keep them moist for them to attach. And I had a few people in the comments tell me that wasn't the case, and maybe that's the case for certain people, but in my personal experience, I 1000% need to keep my moss poles moist in order for those aerial roots to attach. So that's been pretty cool to see. Actually, you can see a root. You can actually see some roots poking through right there. So that's really cool. That actually will make it really easy for me to cut and propagate when she's ready. But yeah, first update. Super excited about this. Now on to my Melanoprisome. So she was actually originally she was on a plank. I've also had my Melanoprisome on a moss pole, and both experiences were just really difficult for me, to be honest. She didn't attach to either of them, which was really annoying, but she is on a soil pole. It's actually more of like half soil, half sphagnum moss, because actually the holes on this particular support they're really big holes. So when I was putting the soil in, the soil was just like falling right out, and I had a lot of like big chunks of horticultural charcoal and orchid bark that were staying in there. So I ended up having to just do like half of that, half moss, because the moss does stay in there pretty well. So this was my first like pole I did that was like this. So she definitely kind of is unstable, and like I had to like zip tie these two pieces together. It was a whole ordeal. I have a video that I will link down below if you guys want to see that hot mess, but she's actually doing really amazing. She's attached to this pole too, right at the top. So that's recent. And then she also outgrew this pole, so I cut her, and now I have two Melanochrysomes going. So this is the newest leaf that the top half had put out. So freaking cute. It's coming out with a new leaf as well at the right behind there. And then this is the newest leaf that this one put out. Actually, no, I'm lying. It had a little tiny leaf. So philodendrons like to do that thing where they're chopped, and then the first leaf that they pull out is like really itty bitty. So that's what she did. And I accidentally knocked that leaf off. It just came right off. But then the leaf to follow was this beauty. And she is just like a lot more slimmer and kind of longer than this previous leaf. You can see this previous leaf is like kind of chunky, kind of wide, but this one is like thin. It's kind of interesting to see. It's more slender. It's kind of like that more mature Melanoprisome form. So I'm really excited to see what the next leaf is gonna look like. She did start to put out a leaf, but that one unfortunately broke off, which is something this Melanoprisome does all the time. It puts out a leaf, and then the next leaf it'll start to put out, and then it aborts it. I don't know what that's about. It might be an inconsistent watering thing, but regardless, she's happy, she's climbing, she's attached to the soil pole. I mean, I really couldn't ask for anything better. She's killing the game, and then eventually this next one will also kill the game. And I just like having more than one plant in here because it really helps fill out the gaps, because sometimes, you know, plants will lose those lower leaves and start to look a bit leggy, which is why I'm really working on filling out all of my moss poles and planks with multiple stems. This is actually the Melanoprisome leaf that aborted itself. Look at that. Didn't even bother to unfurl. Whatever. This next one is a bit... I might have to enter some B-roll for her because, as you can see, she is massive. This is my Medium Zippolinum. Here we have a wooden plank and my Medium. It did go ahead and push out this huge, beautiful leaf for me just recently. And she was on a wooden plank before. She never attached the wooden plank, put her on a soil pole, and she is going absolutely crazy in that soil pool, and I could not be happier. So as you can see with this one, the squares on it are actually a lot smaller than the Melanoprisome one. They're two different soil supports. I don't know what to call these things. And yeah, this one is a lot better, and you can see all of those roots coming through. She has so many roots, which is perfect because her top growth surpasses this pole. So I really don't know what to do with her, honestly, because to be honest, she is way too leggy. Like, look, this is all bare stem, all of it. And I just took off another leaf because it started yellowing. I think she's getting spider mites because my Varicosum has spider mites, like, go figure. But I'm not sure what that yellowing is. It could be because I have been letting her dry out a little bit too much. Maybe it's dry rot, I'm not sure. So actually, I think I'm gonna chop her like completely up. Yeah, but this was actually kind of mind-blowing to see because when I first got her, she was one leaf, like a one leaf cutting, completely unrooted. I rooted her in perlite, and when I did that video 6 months ago, she was 3 leaves. She had grew to be 3 leaves, which was really cool, and now she is just this massive thing. I really truly love this plant so much. I kind of just love her palm like shape. Her leaf shape is just so cool. It's really something that you don't see anymore. And yeah, I think, yeah, she definitely needs to be chopped. I'm going to do that in probably my next plant chores video, but really I couldn't ask for a better plant. So easy, so quick to attach once I got the care right. And to be honest, I didn't really think I would like soil pools as much as I do. It's been kind of crazy. I heard about it a few times on Instagram. It has been the easiest method so far. The only thing is that it requires a lot of soil. So you can see, like, this thing is massive. Like, I can't even wrap my hand fully around it. So that's a lot of soil that's in here. That's probably the biggest downfall of it, but really, I mean, it's been amazing. And I don't even have to keep it moist, once again, like with soil poles. And I feel like they're a little bit more sturdy than planks. So I don't know, this might be like what I use on the regular. We'll see. And then it also has the advantage of turning the roots into actual feeder roots because they can actually fully root inside the soil. And I feel like propagating it and like chopping it would just be super easy. That's actually what I did with the Melanoprisome. As soon as I cut it, I just planted it right at the bottom of the pot because it already had some roots that were established. And there was no transfer shock. It didn't go through any sort of period of like struggling. Like, it just took a while for the new leaf to come out, but it was good. She was great, which is really saying something because Melanoprisome are really finicky. So I really think that's the biggest, absolute biggest advantage of soil pools, because that's kind of something I'm going to run into with the planks, is that once you cut the plant, you have to like kind of yank the roots off, and essentially that ruins the roots. So you're going to have to reroot the plant. But I'm not at that point with any of my planks yet. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future. The next plant I also put on a soil pool is my Syngonium chia pets. And this kind of, I feel like, is going to really just solidify my love for soil pools. Actually, it's going to make or break it. I feel like with the Amedrium and with the Melanoprisome, like, those could be flukes, right? Like one-offs. But I was like, you know what? Let's try this on the Syngonium chia pens. But I feel like she's going to attach to it really well. She is kind of on the struggle bus right now. I don't know if it's pest. I don't know if it's sun bleaching. I feel like it's sun bleaching. We're working on it. You know, I've done some pest treatments for her. I've moved her away from a brighter light area, but she's just really bleached and just not happy looking. So I did chop her, and I have a piece propagating for insurance, but until then she's just gonna stay here and we'll see what happens. She does have just one extension, one base on her, and then once she grows I'll be able to add the extension, because these you can order in packs of 2 or packs of 4. So I always get the 2-pack, and it's super cheap. It's like, I think like $12 or $13 on Amazon. So I'll leave the link for that down below if you guys want to check it out, because really these things are just, they're amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I know Emma from Good Growing uses these same type of poles, but she fills it up with moss, and she says they're really good for moss as well. So yeah, definitely recommend this method if you want to use moss poles, soil poles, whatever have you. These plastic ones are really just phenomenal and really hold in a lot more moisture than just the wire mesh. Next is my Alba Monstera, which hasn't grown too much, but this is also one that I found kind of difficult to attach to the moss pole. So she's grown a little bit. She's actually has dropped 2 leaves because they were all white leaves, because as you can see, we are going through our white period at the moment. Before, she was doing a pattern of doing like an all white leaf and then a half moon and then an all white leaf and then a half moon, and those 2 previous all white leaves completely browned, so I cut them off, and I'm just gonna let her keep going. I'm not gonna chop off her white leaves just yet because I'm really trying to get some fenestrated leaves. We don't have any fenestrated leaves yet. In fact, the leaves aren't even getting bigger. They're just the same size over and over again, which once again, not really complaining because she's still really gorgeous. Can we get like at least 1 fenestration, girl? Her roots have started to barely just start to climb or attach to the moss pole. I'm trying really hard to keep this one moist so I can see some faster fenestrations, get some faster splits, and you know, the key to that is really just getting them to attach and to climb. So we'll see in the next 2 leaves what happened. Here we have my Bernopottii, which wasn't in that video. I'm not sure why, but this one has been on the moss pole for forever now. This is a really thin moss pole, and I really despise this one. I'm actually going to completely redo this, but she's just not doing great. As you can see, that leaf there is really small, but she is fully rooted in this moss pole. Like, you can see roots rooted all throughout here, but this moss pole like just gets so dry so quick, and I think I just need to ultimately put her in a brighter light area. That's just the one thing I think that will do the trick in maturing this plant, because some plants are okay in medium light and climbing and they will mature just fine. Other plants like this one, I guess they need to climb and they also need brighter light, which is unfortunate because I don't know where I'm gonna put her. But I'm gonna chop her, redo her moss pole, and then we'll just see what happens from there and where I decide to put her. And the last 2 moss pole plants I have, so we have my beautiful Varicosum, who, as I said, is battling spider mites at the moment. So I actually went ahead and just sprayed some sulfur fungicide on her. But yeah, I have 3 different plants in here. So she's grown a lot. I think this is the main stem that I had from the first video. So like that, this is massive. Varicosums always grow super easy for me. Look at that beautiful petiole. Oh, I'm obsessed with it. So this is what I call my Varicosum tree, because as you can see, she's very full and looks like a tree. You can see the spider mite damage here. These leaves just don't look well. I have to get something, I don't know, maybe Azamax or something, because the spider mites have actually been really bad on her, which is sad. Like, I haven't battled spider mites this bad on my Varicosum before, so it's really unfortunate. Look at this leaf though, it's so beautiful, but you can just see the difference. Like, why are you so pale? That makes me so nervous. But other than that, she's doing great. I guess I'm gonna have to chop her whenever this leaf comes out, because this is already a pretty big moss pole, and that leaf is gonna be definitely almost as tall as the moss pole. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this plant. And I actually still have 3 more Varicosums. I have these 2 babies here, and I have 1 baby there. So 2 babies I actually are claimed. I actually have claimed for trades. So I guess the last one I might as well just plant here as well. So I'll have 4 Varicosums in this moss pole, which is kind of like crazy, but also it's kind of good because Varicosums are very susceptible in my experience to root rot, and I feel like the more plants I have in this plot, the less chances of root rot I'll get, because all those roots are gonna be in there sucking up all the water, and it's already kind of working because she's a fasty gal, that's for sure. And here is my painted lady, and she's also doing really amazing. She's a beast on her own. This is another moss pole that I want to redo because this moss pole is just super thin and is always drying out. Her leaves have started getting a little bit smaller. I'm not sure what that's about, but she's still growing really well, looking really beautiful. They have the best new leaves, and I'm obsessed with their pink caterpillars. They still are kind of pink as they age, but the newer ones are definitely super pink. I love peeling their caterpillars too, because it's just so easy to take off. But yeah, all of these roots have grown in as well. So she's climbing this moss pole. I just need to make it thicker, and maybe I will make her moss pole bigger as well. And then I'm probably gonna cap all of my planks and moss poles at 4 feet. And then once they reach 4 feet, I'm gonna end up chopping them. At least I think that's what I'm thinking like right now, because I feel like 4 feet is pretty manageable for me. I'm only 5 feet, and I feel like if anything is taller, especially with the planks, it just might be a little too cumbersome for me to handle, because it just gets really like unstable at a certain point. But then once again, thinking about Sydney plant guy, and his poles are probably like, I don't know, 7 feet, but he's also probably like 7 feet. I just want to get my plants as big as possible. I don't know, so we'll see what happens. All right, now let's talk about my planks. So here we have my decursiva, and so she's actually on a wooden plank. Before she was just on a trellis, and she did have a really long runner because she was in a pretty low light area before. So I actually chopped that runner and put her on this plank, and since she kind of went crazy, she put out this new leaf, which is the first leaf I've seen in a while, but she also put out one growth point there, and then we have 4 growth points down there. Oh, 5 if you include this one. Like, girl, you did not need to do all that. So I'm excited to see what this one does. I just put her on this plank probably maybe a month ago, so nothing really to update on yet. I'm really interested to see how she does on this plank though, because her area roots have never really grown at all or come out in any way for them to attach to anything. So I'm wondering if her, like, the support alone will be enough to get some more splits in her leaves. So I'm excited to share updates whenever I get that. Next, we have my Philodendron Golden Dragon, which is also a newly kind of added plant. I have had her on here for a couple months now. She's put out 2 leaves. Here's her newest one. She doesn't look very mottled these days because she's in lower light. They do need higher light to get those variegated leaves, but she has attached to the wooden plank, which is why I like the wooden plank so much, because I have done like nothing really other than tape her to the plank. Those aerial roots just came out on their own and started to attach on their own, so it's been really cool to see. Same with the Campo, my Campos Portuanum. I just recently also put this on a few months ago, and the leaves haven't really gotten much bigger yet, but she's still kind of acclimating to this plank. And I think, let's see, okay, so her roots haven't attached to it yet, but I have heard that just adding support to these plants will help bring those bigger leaves out. So I'm really excited to get this one to mature and get some more mature leaves on this Campo. I've had my Campo for forever and I've never matured it, so I'm excited to finally get that going. I also have this plank taped outside of the pot versus planted inside, and I absolutely hate this method. It is so clumsy, but this plant was just so small. It's in a 4-inch orchid pot versus I think these are like 6 or 8 inches, so it was kind of hard to put the plank in such a small pot. So I tried the taping outside the method. I hate it, but putting it in this cover pot kind of helps stabilize it. So there's just like a little tip for you there. I also have 3 plants in here actually.
So that's gonna be cool. My Epipremnum, what is this called? Monstera gosh, I am struggling. Monstera esqueleto. What is wrong with my brain? She's doing all right. She's still really juvenile. I've always been told as soon as you get the Monstera esqueleto to put it on some sort of support and it'll start maturing and getting bigger leaves super fast. But I personally am just struggling with this plant. She just doesn't grow fast for me. I've had her for a few months, probably, I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 months, and she's only put out 2 leaves. She's since dropped 1 leaf and doesn't really look like she's about to put out another leaf. Maybe one is about to start forming here, but she kind of just gets me nervous all the time because I really don't want to lose this plant. I love this esqueleto so much, and my husband got her for me, purchased her for me, and the plants that my husband gets me, I treasure them a lot more than plants that I buy for myself. So I really need this one to survive and thrive. And then next we have my Epipremnum skeleton key. I've talked about her before. This plant is actually attached and climbing. You can see her roots. Let's see, this one is attached. You can see those roots are coming out there. So she's definitely climbing. We don't have any mature leaves yet. Is that? Oh, so we have, oh, okay. So we have a little bit of a split. One tiny little split right there. Oh, you're so cute. So maybe we'll get something soon. Maybe now that she's like growing up more towards the light, because that was kind of my other theory, that maybe this plant just needed higher light since she was climbing and not maturing. So I'm probably going to extend this plank one more time, and that should give her enough space, more than enough time to grow and mature, and hopefully I can get those really cool shaped skeleton key leaves. And there's 2 vines in this one. Yeah, I mean, she's all right, you know, she's not the prettiest. We have a whole bunch of yellowing tips, but she's a really easy plant, and I guess I can't complain too much. Oh, also in that previous video, she did only come up to the first extension, so she's grown quite a bit since as well. A new plant I have added is my Philodendron Adabapoense. Before, I had this on a bamboo stake for a while, and you all know I hate bamboo stakes. They're so just unsturdy and wobble around way too much. So I put her on this plank, the Zellotrellis, and you can see it's pretty girthy. This is 3.5 inches in width, so it's really good for bigger plants like this. And this is her newest leaf, which has grown a lot actually, now that I'm like looking at it. I just recently put her on here, so we're not at this point yet, but hopefully soon. You can see that aerial root is already attached as well. So I'm excited to see what this leaf does since that root is attached. Now we come over here to some thirsty plants. I just put my variegated heartleaf philodendron on this hybrid pole. This is actually a pole made by Joyous Hoya 101 on Instagram. Her name is CJ, and it is a vinyl, and basically you have the opportunity to use moss, and then inside, you can't really see it, but I have soil in there, and the soil level is probably about where the plant is. And basically the moss entices the aerial roots to come out, and it'll grow inside, and it'll turn those roots into soil roots since it's going to be in soil. So it's a really innovative, cool idea. I really like how you can hang it too. So this is kind of like just freestanding, hanging from my wall, and I just think it's a really cool concept. It's something that you don't see on the market at all, ever, and I'm really excited to get some big variegated heartleaf leaves. I think the next plant I probably want to mature is a pothos. So I can't wait to share those updates, or I have to pick a pothos first. Maybe I'll do my Mandula pothos. And then here is my variegated Epiprimnum pinnatum. And this one has definitely been climbing this plank for a while. So we've got some fenestrated leaves. I just put her in kind of a more high light area, so hopefully we'll get more fenestrated leaves, but she also is recovering from root rot. I'm happy to report that she's doing all right. I cut off a whole bunch of rotted roots and just placed her back in the soil. So I need to water her because she is very thirsty, but she's doing all right. And then here I have my Burl Marks Fantasy that actually hasn't attached at all. She's actually pretty thirsty. I need to water her, but you can see that new leaf coming in here. And her leaves really haven't grown any bigger. In fact, they might have gotten even a little smaller. So I'm almost tempted to maybe put her on a soil pole and see what happens. But I just love Philodendron Burl Marks Fantasy so much. I think it's such a beautiful plant, and I really want to get bigger leaves on this because I think that texture and this color would just look so pretty when it's big. So yeah, in the future, in the next few months, I think I might chop her up a little bit and throw her on a soil pole, or maybe I'll have two. I'll keep this one on the plank and then put another one on the soil pole, and I could do like a comparison side by side to see who does better. And the last couple I have on some planks, actually, I just put my Philodendron Majestic here. I repotted her. This is a yellowing leaf. She's also on the struggle bus. I'm not sure why. I have started treating her for flat mites, so she has sulfur on her as well. But I feel like she's never truly looked happy, and I don't know why. And her leaves are always facing down like that. Like, what is that even about? She's like really off to the side of the grow light, so I don't feel like it's a light problem. I don't know, but it bums me out so much because I love this plant and I need it to grow and thrive, and she's not doing that. And then last we have my Rhaphidophora cryptantha. I actually had to chop her because she was almost growing past this plank. So we're kind of starting over. She hasn't put out any new growth yet since the chop, but that's fine. It is cooler weather now. So this, honestly, I didn't really have high goals for this plant because I do struggle with this plant and just shinglers in general because they are a little bit more difficult for me, but it's still fun. It's still a cool learning process, and I really do enjoy growing this plant, and I feel like I'm always learning something new about it. Oh, okay. I am a bit winded. That was a lot more talking than I thought it was gonna be, but that is my official 6-month update / check-in on maturing all my plants. And right now I am sitting at this point and I'm very conflicted because, well, first off, I am very much favoring soil poles over anything else. So I'm really interested to experiment more on soil poles, like with the chia pens. And then I really think I'm gonna do the Burl Marks Fantasy because I've never been able to get that plant to climb and attach on anything. So yeah, I think those are gonna be my next 2 projects. And then, this is, I don't know what to say, because I want to say that maybe soil poles are coming in second, but really soil poles and planks are they're tied at the moment, because I feel like I've gotten the most growth from my moss pole plants, but also I feel like I put easier plants on my moss poles than on my planks. But with that being said, well, no, because I feel like my golden dragon and the campo are pretty easy plants, but those are still new. Okay, so I can't really say just yet because I've added so many new plants to my planks, because I did feel like I had more moss poles at one point than planks. So I'm just gonna leave them tied, because the thing about planks is that they are just, the plants that I have gotten to attach have been really easy to get them to attach. It's literally as simple as taping them or getting them as close to the plank as possible. And then once you do that, the aerial roots really just take to them super fast. Unlike moss poles, moss poles, you actually have to go out and get all these different materials. And then for me personally, I have to go through the hassle of watering them almost every day, if not every other day. So I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything yet. I'm just gonna say they're both tied, but soil poles are definitely taking first place, which is something I never thought I would say. But I'm really excited to just keep doing this. And you know, I suggest to you to give soil pools a try if you haven't yet and you want to start maturing your plants. Also, please let me know in the comments which is your preferred method of maturing plants. I just love hearing everybody's opinions on this and different ways that they do. Maybe you are maturing your plants in a different way that I've never heard of. So yeah, but that's it. I hope you all enjoyed this update. I hope you all are staying safe, staying happy and healthy. If you've made it this far, please go ahead, give the video a thumbs up. It really helps out this video and my channel, and I appreciate you so much. I will see you all in the next video.